Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Ringside Rundown Podcast. My name is Erik Vasquez, and joining me on the line is my podcasting partner in crime. She's coming straight out of the Berg, but she's a really sad Steelers fan this week. She is Shay Hickson. Shay, what's going on, my friend?
I feel like I'm more a sad Dakota Kai fan than I am Steelers fan right now
You and
because
I both on that Dakota Kai front.
I was so bummed. You have no idea. Like, I'm sitting there, it's freezing, I'm huddled up in a blanket, and I just.
I lost a bet. I lost actual money on it.
Oh, you thought she was gonna win?
Yeah, no, because I had a friendly gentleman's bet with a friend of mine from Twitch, and
Ah,
we were like originally it was supposed to be just a gentleman's bet of one gifted sub depending on the winner, and then somebody else was like, no, why don't you do two? And I was like, well, now we have to do two because she
yeah.
said to do two. So I ended up losing two gifted subs because I was rooting for Dakota Kai, and it hurt. It hurt to actually have to do that while I was live streaming, go into another person's stream and gift them two subs.
Ah,
I knew it was over when she hit the when
yeah,
she hit the
yeah.
kick.
And she
When she
fled
hit,
out of the ring.
yeah, when
Ah.
she hit the kick and Lyra went out of the ring, I was like, it's not gonna go well for us tonight.
The way my shoulders just slumped when she fell out of the ring, I'm like, it's fucking over. This is fucking over.
Jeff had a meltdown and left.
see, I didn't have a melt. Well, okay, I lied. I did kind of have a little bit of a meltdown because, obviously, poor mom. She doesn't have Netflix at her house, so she can't watch it. And so she's like, "Okay, call me and tell me the good news later." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I called, and she's like, "Hello?" And I sat there for a few seconds, and I'm like, "I fucking hate it here. I fucking hate it here. This is bullshit." And she's like, "You're kidding. Please don't." I'm like, "Yeah, she lost." Like,
Wow.
I hate everything, but
Yeah, it wasn't a good night for us Dakota Kai fans. But for those that are just listening for the first time, yes, this is a professional wrestling podcast where Shay and I discuss what is happening in the world of professional wrestling, whether it's WWE or AEW. Yes, we're very passionate because we wanted Dakota Kai to win. I obviously wanted Dakota Kai to win because I didn't want to have to spend any money, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, sometimes you got to pay up the debts.
yeah,
It's just the
yeah.
way it is.
And I just wanted her to win because, of course, I wanted her to win. I had
Yeah.
nothing but my pride, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes we can't always get what we want, but
I mean, we never get. If you're a Dakota Kai and Shayna Baszler fan, you never get what you want. So
no, you
it's
don't actually.
just
You
in the
don't.
trenches. I'm just in the
Yeah.
trenches doing my best. I'm surviving barely, but oh
Well,
well.
we thank you guys for joining us on this week's episode. This week's episode is going to be a little bit different because we're bringing back for this week our Ask Us Anything episode. Last time we did this for episode 100, we had like over 30 questions. It was crazy, and guess what? It happened again. We have a lot
Yeah.
of questions this episode, and it's going to be fun because this episode has some wrestling stuff in there. It has some non-wrestling stuff in there. So it's going to be a really fun episode where you guys, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, you get to learn about what Shay and I like, not only in wrestling, but in other facets of life and entertainment. So it's going to be a really fun episode. I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, yeah. People get to know the people behind the voices screaming into the microphone.
There you go. And actually, we're going to do it a little different this week because usually Shay is the one that's like quarterbacking the podcast and sort of delegating the plays, as they would say in football. But this week, I'm going to read off our first set of questions from our good friend Mike, and then she's going to read off the next set of questions. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's a tag team effort.
Yeah, I actually have to put in work this time.
Yeah, I'm tagging you in, so
Uh,
good luck.
all right. Yeah. Well, thank you for the good luck. Why don't we get started? Because, like I said, we have a lot of questions to get to. So, might as well get right into it. Our first set of questions come from our good friend Mike. So, Mike, thank you again for all of your hard work into giving us this content on the podcast.
Yes.
And his first question is, and I can't wait to hear your answer. What is the worst job you've ever had?
Oh, um, all right. So it was not my current one, obviously, because that's a problem. No, I like my job now. Oh, The worst job I ever had wasn't so much the job itself, it was the managers.
Oh.
Um, I used to work, I mean, I feel like it's like not a big deal at this point, so I'll just say it. I used to work at the Pittsburgh Pirates team store when I
Mm,
first, I wouldn't even say moved up to Pittsburgh. I was like trying to get myself up here, and that was supposedly going to be the start of it, and it just didn't work out for a variety of reasons at the time. But the job itself wasn't bad. I mean, everybody knows I'm a huge sports fan, so it was like getting to be around sports every day was cool. Customer service part of it, on the other hand, though, that's kind of the whole problem where when you're not so much an extroverted, like people kind of person, customer service jobs can be very socially taxing,
yeah,
emotionally
yeah.
taxing, and you kind of add that on top of just without going into too specifics, just management who are also not people like he wasn't a people person, but he had a
Gotcha.
people person job, so never really knew how to handle things
Yeah.
very well and was just kind of an asshole sometimes. So it was like I kind of just after the season was over, I couldn't afford to be at that job anymore anyway because when you drastically get your hours cut, you can't really afford to do anything. So
Right.
so I ended up going back to my hometown for a little bit, but yeah, I met some great people there though that I still talk to this day, so that's good, but just the job itself wasn't terrible besides the customer service aspect of it, which was like, 99% of it, but it was more the management that kind of ruined it. I think if I had better managers at the time, it would have been a little more enjoyable and I would have been a little more willing to stay around. I just had kind of had enough of it. One season was enough.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, were there any perks for working in the team store and being affiliated with the team?
I got 40% off the store. So
Oh, that's okay. That's a
so
pretty big discount.
So that was nice. I bought a lot of shit at that time. Some stuff I still wear to this day though, so it was worth it. But yeah, other than that, I mean, you got to go like depending on where you worked in the stadium, you got to be in like the fancy places. I got to work up in the suites, so I got to see some like important people and like some like the
Nice.
friends and family of the players. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, that was that 6 months of customer service was kind of enough for me. So I'm happy to be in my corporate office job where I can sit at my desk and listen to my music and not have to deal with the general public. So
Nice.
it's worth it. It's worth it now, but
Nice, nice. Well, I don't know if I've told this story before, and I've most of my jobs that I've had outside of like working from home have been pretty bad. And you would think the first job I've ever had was actually in telemarketing, and I
oh,
did telemarketing for 3 years. So you want to talk about
oh,
customer service, but that actually wasn't the worst job I had. The worst job I had, I was a cashier for
mm.
a liquor store.
Oh
Uh,
God. Oh,
Eh,
oh
yeah.
no.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was a local liquor store, and it was sandwiched in between 2 trailer parks.
I could see where this
So
is going.
yeah, yeah,
Ugh.
it was like, and the thing is, what was horrible about it is you go into work, and it was almost like I don't know if you've ever seen The Shining, but it's like you do this
Yeah.
is the same thing over and over again, so you start to go crazy. And it
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily doing the same thing; it was seeing the same people. You would see the
Hmm.
same people over and over again, at least like 5, 6 times in your one shift,
Oh.
and they were always buying the smaller bottles because in their mind the small if you bought the bigger bottle it made it look like you had a problem, not coming into
Uh-huh.
the store 5 to 6 times.
You know,
It was buying the big bottle.
it's an
So
episode of Cops.
yeah, yeah, and it was like, oh my god, I had the weirdest things like people trying to steal, trying to
Yeah,
use counterfeit bills.
of
It
course.
was insane. It was insane. It was like there's an episode, and I always equate it to this. There's an episode of American Horror Story, the Coven season,
Oh, God.
when they were witches, and there was a scene where they all get stuck in purgatory, but purgatory is like the worst thing to happen to them in their life. And one of the witches, their purgatory was working a cashier job, customer service, and it was just
Yeah.
over and over and
Uh-huh.
over again. And it was just like that was like the word. Oh my god! On holidays, like
Hmm.
Thanksgiving, And
Oh, good fuck.
Christmas,
New Year's.
oh my god, it was the
Mm,
worst. And the thing is, like, the owners, they were millionaires because they
of
had
course.
other successful businesses. So this was like a side hustle. So like holidays would come and it would be like a line wrapped around the store, and for all of our hard work they would send us like a sandwich platter. You know?
That's
Like,
it. Like, good job,
yeah.
guys. You're like,
Yeah. Like, oh my god,
Jesus.
it was the absolute worst. I would never ever subject anyone to go through what I went through there.
Ooh, just as you were explaining that, I'm like, this just I know how this is gonna go wrong in so many different ways. So
Oh,
yeah,
it did.
I wouldn't envy you on that one at
Yeah.
all.
Imagine how hard it is to enforce the no shoes, no shirt, no service type rule. I mean, how hard why do I have to enforce that? And I actually had to enforce that a bunch of times. Like, hey, why are you not wearing a shirt? I
Put a
need you
shirt
to
on.
be wearing a shirt. Like, I
Oh,
shouldn't have to do that.
ew.
Yeah, it was the worst period of my life. And the thing was, like, I this was like when I first moved out on my own. So
Mm,
I was living in one of the trailer parks. It was my first place that
yeah.
was my own. So it was like literally I would go to work and then just go not even down the street, just turn the corner and be home. So I never actually like escaped the area.
No.
So it
Ugh.
was just like constant dread over and over and over again. It was the worst.
Yeah, I definitely don't envy you on that one. That sounds fucking terrible.
Yeah, yeah, it was horrible. Next up for our first wrestling question of the night. Mike wants to know our thoughts on Tessa Blanchard reemergence in TNA.
Ugh. Um,
Yeah, I like the way you started that.
I feel like that pretty much explains it. I
Yeah,
don't care for it. Um, I mean, there's a reason why Jordan Grace supposedly kind of pushed back on working with her because why would
yeah.
you want to? So
She's not the only one.
yeah, so I don't I'll just say I don't know what they're thinking. She just better be on her best behavior.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. Um, it's weird because it's like human nature tells us that everybody deserves a second chance and all that stuff, and everybody deserves the opportunity to be better and to be better human beings, and like I guess we have to give Tessa Blanchard the benefit of the doubt and say like maybe she learned from her mistakes.
Let's
It's
hope.
just, yeah, we hope, but it's just like constantly we're seeing these types of behaviors from people, and a lot of people in wrestling too, not
Yeah.
just her. I mean look at the latest controversy with our buddy Hulk Hogan,
Yeah.
and what that brought about. I mean, it's just like the stuff that Tessa Blanchard that came out about her was so vile that it's like that's a learned behavior.
Oh
So
yeah.
how hard is it to unlearn that behavior and be better?
Yeah.
Cuz is she just putting on a front? Is she really trying to be better? What has she done to be better? I mean, and it's also weird because it's like how much of that information just as the public are we supposed to know? Like, why do we think it's our right to know? Like, we should take things at face value, but
Yeah.
it's just a tricky situation with that.
Yeah, it really is. It's just especially when it comes to those kind of things, I find it very hard to give out the second chances because it's like
Yeah,
it's only just basic human decency, so you think it
right.
shouldn't be that difficult, and yet as we have come to discover as you grow up, the basic human decency is very few and far in between. But I don't know. Let's just hope she doesn't make TNA look like a bunch of idiots because I don't think a
Yeah.
lot of people trust them too much right now. And
I think
yeah,
yeah, I think that's what it is. I think that's why it's so hard. It's because again, it's learned behavior.
yeah,
So like and like you just said it's like basic human decency. We know we shouldn't act that way, and yet we some people do.
yeah,
So it's like again, learned behavior. Well, why did you choose to go down that route and be that spiteful and be that hateful. Again, it's all on the hands of TNA, and they have to worry about making themselves look stupid or not. So good
Yeah.
luck to them.
Yeah, good luck with that.
All right, our next question from Mike is, are you pro or anti artificial intelligence?
Oh. Um, I think I feel like AI could be a good thing, but I just feel like from what I've seen people use it for, it's just like this is not a good thing at all because again, going back to the whole basic human decency thing where it's like people will always take something with, I mean, you try to say with good intentions, like
Right. Yeah.
maybe somewhere at some point people created AI for good intentions, but it
Right.
never stays that way because
Yeah.
then it's always just what can we do to better, I don't know, like further our own agenda and better like suit our needs and kind of fuck everybody else because it's just like
Right.
some of the shit that you see it where it's like you can replicate people's voices, you can replicate like actual people's faces. I'm like, that's when it kind of gets a little like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just like this is some like Skynet, Cyberdyne, Terminator kind of shit, and I don't want the war to start, so I'd rather, I would rather stay away from it. I have never used it and never plan on using it, so I suppose I would be anti AI because I feel like I just know that you just can't trust people to use it like properly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. If it gets in the hand, if it gets in the wrong hands, and then people like with the internet and everything like that nowadays, people just have like a negative disposition, and there are people out there that just want to cause chaos and be disruptive and be mean for no reason. So
Yeah.
that's where you have to be careful. Like I've seen AI in terms of like artwork and like people, using it to create art, and I think that's pretty cool. I think it's when you use it as a manipulation tactic
Yes.
to that person, like if they take a famous actress, and use her voice to endorse a product, but it's not really her, it's just AI, you
Yeah.
know. And then when you get to a point where where it's getting increasingly difficult to tell what's the difference between real and I
Mhm.
think that's very dangerous too, because we live in a technology and social media world where like the older people that didn't grow up or like that didn't start off with technology in their lives. Like I was born in mid 80s, so I kind of am like on the cusp of like when computers started getting into a big deal, and then you came around when the internet was already big.
Yeah.
For the people before us, like the generation before us that didn't have to deal with that stuff and that are not good with computers and not good with technology,
Yes.
that's where AI becomes super dangerous, because those people, my mother believes anything, like, and like she'll have like a million tabs open, and they're all like these random cheap stores from like a different country, and it's just like, yeah, her information is definitely on the dark web and stuff like that, and that's where AI can fool people.
Yeah, exactly. It's just people are just not good people deep down on the for the most part.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, unfortunately you can't trust humankind these days.
not, not at all, which is a shame, but yeah.
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 So our next question is a wrestling question. What is one feud you'd like to see in AEW and WWE in 2025?
um oh damn. That could be a lot.
Yeah.
Um I feel like for AEW, I would like to see. Ugh. I feel like I want to see Stat and Mariah for the title because obviously Mariah's Mariah. We could go on for a whole episode about how great she is, but I feel like people are finally realizing that Stat can be in that main event scene. Like,
Hmm.
oh, I don't know. I've known for years, but again, I jump on the bandwagon. It's fine. We've been on it for a while, but I think her matches with Mercedes have definitely proven that she can rise to the occasion consistently, and so I feel like hopefully she can kind of get out of the TBS title like scene and then go into the main title scene. I feel like a feud with her and Mariah would be really good because you would think the size difference is going to be an issue, but it isn't because Mariah is just deceptively powerful. So I feel like
Right.
it would be a clash of the strength and like the physicalities. So I think it would be a really good match. So that's what I would want for AEW. WWE, I would want. Whew, it's tough. Um, hmm. Now the worst part is can we get like hypothetical with this because the only way this would work is if a certain somebody gets signed to WWE. Like people are saying they might.
Oh, you mean Malachi Black?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
knew you. I knew you were gonna say it.
which I have some very I have mixed feelings about that. I don't know,
Oh,
but that's for another time. It's fine. So it would be very interesting to see like him and the Wyatt Six go at it.
oh,
I just think
okay.
the potential of that those promos, the potential of that like scenery, the just like settings, the atmosphere, I think it would be really cool, especially if Triple H kind of brings back the Malachi or the Aleister Black that we all know and love from NXT. I feel like it would be really, really a fun time. So that's my hypothetical if and when he does resign. I feel like he's going to, if
Yeah.
supposedly the rumors are true, which as long as he still gets to be on some television that I can watch, I don't really care where he goes, but that would be my two.
I like those. I like those. Those are good ones. For AEW, it's a little tough for me because it's like the possibilities are endless, and it's like there's not really a hierarchy in terms of who can be in the main event scene and who's
Yeah.
kind of on the mid card or anything like that. I
Mhm.
think for me, it's not so much more of a feud, but I would love to see maybe Will Ospreay take the reigns as the guy in AEW. So if that means maybe like Will Ospreay and John Moxley, or
Yeah.
like or if like somebody is able to take away the title from Moxley, any sort of variation with Will Ospreay, because I mean the kid is just he's just too damn good. Like he can have a
Yeah.
really, really good match against anyone. And I think what he's able to do and how polarizing he is, because new wrestling fans who are not really exposed to wrestling can look at him and go, wow, he really does some cool stuff, which he does. He's a great, fantastic professional wrestler. And I think he's polarizing in a way is like he gets under the skin of like that old school wrestling fan who looks at him and goes, oh, it's just a bunch of gymnastics, but they don't really see what he does to make these matches happen and make people go, wow, he is really a special talent. So to me, it's just like I would love to see like Will Ospreay and Moxley, you know, go at it for the title and build an actual feud
Yeah.
with some story behind it, you know, so
Yeah. Who
not
would have
just the
thought?
match, not just the match, but like the actual build up some drama behind it. Let's get some creativity behind these things
Just do
here, man.
something.
Yeah, yeah, and in WWE, I'm gonna go with an easy one that we're most likely gonna see in 2025, and that's the match I need to see to be a content, happy wrestling fan. I need to see John Cena and CM Punk one more time.
Yeah, we need to see that.
I
Like,
I it
come
needs
on.
to. I mean, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen because when I've always said when CM Punk and John Cena have a wrestling match, it's just pure magic.
Yeah.
It's magic. They're
Yes.
able to create magic with each other. So I'm ecstatic to see what was gonna happen. I mean, CM Punk cut a promo on Raw. And he kind of alluded to it, and I got all warm and tingly. I
And
was
you're
just like,
like sitting
I
on
was
the edge of your seat. You're like, get
yeah,
me, please.
I was giggling, like, you know, I was kicking my feet and giggling, you know, just
Literally.
like yeah, I was just so happy. So I think for WWE it's an easy one. Like you said, Malachi Black, all signs point that most likely and in due time he's gonna head back. So maybe if we could see like a CM Punk and Aleister Black,
Ooh,
you know,
that'd be a good one. Oh,
yeah, yeah, I'm really excited for that. So hopefully that happens. I mean, it's 2025 is shaping up to be a big year, not only for WWE but for AEW too. So it's going to be very interesting.
yeah, it's gonna be a wild time, that's for sure.
For sure, for sure. Here's a fun one coming up.
Oh boy.
Who was your first wrestling crush?
Oh,
For Mike it was Miss Elizabeth,
that's a pretty good. I mean, that's a pretty good choice for.
first lady of professional wrestling.
Yeah. Hmm. I feel like I feel like mine was Lita for obvious
Yeah.
reasons. Like the punk rock kind of aesthetic, like that's
Yeah.
kind of like my thing now. So I feel like yeah, it was definitely Lita back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, I was like, oh my god, I can see your underwear.
Yeah, yeah. Or you're like, wait a minute, this is on my TV? What?
Yeah. Wait, I can't let my mom know I'm seeing this now.
Yeah, right. That's yeah, it's just kind of like the you pretend you're not looking, but you're secretly looking through your fingers, like you cover
Oh
your
yeah,
face.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
was I was definitely looking.
Hmm.
Lita's a good choice. Lita's a good choice. For me, I'm a little bit unconventional. Like everybody, has the Trish Stratus, the
Yeah.
Stacy Keeblers, the Sables, and all that.
Yeah.
My first official wrestling crush is when I turned on my TV and I discovered ECW,
Mhm.
and that was a problem. I they
Oh,
there should
no.
have I should have never been exposed to ECW in the 8th grade, and there was one person in particular. I mean, they had everybody. They had Francine, they had Beulah McGillicuddy, they had
Mhm.
Dawn Marie, but there was one lady in particular who's nobody knows. I haven't heard her name come up in terms of what she's been up to in years, and that is Kimona Wanalea.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Mhm.
Kimono Wanalea from ECW. When I saw that woman, I thought I was looking at God.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I,
Yep.
I was like, that's the woman for me. That's the woman I'm gonna marry. And again, I don't know what Kimono Wanalea is up to, but if
Yeah.
this ever gets out there, Kimono Wanalea, hi, how are you?
You're right.
Hopefully,
You wanna talk sometime? Like,
yeah, hopefully you're doing well. And if you want to catch up, maybe we can head over to a Chili's.
like Moe's?
Yeah, yeah, or Moe's. I love me some Moe's, but yeah, Kimono Wanalea. What a
Probably just
woman.
unlocked a core memory for some people out there,
Oh
I'm
my
sure.
god. Yeah, yeah. Man, oh man, what a woman.
Right.
Moving on before we get too deep into this one. Um, oh, this is a fun one for you. Who is your guilty pleasure musician?
Oh, um,
That one
hmm.
that one musician, that artist you listen to that you don't want anybody else knowing you listen to, but you're gonna tell them anyway.
Um, it's kinda tough though, because I feel like I could have 2 different answers, but for 2 different reasons. I feel
Uh-huh.
like we've kind of talked about it before, what my music style is or what I like, and for those that didn't listen to episode 100, I'm definitely into more like rock, metal, pop punk. So I'm constantly listening to Spirit Box. I'm listening to Hot Milk, State Atlantic, Yonica. Like I go on and on and on. So I feel like one answer I could give is more or less because if you know what I listen to and then you hear me listening to that, you'd be like, wait a minute, that doesn't add up, which would probably be Chapel Roan.
Oh,
I
okay.
feel like that's just more because of my friends, because I perform to her songs all the time. So I feel like you get used to the same like 20 songs all the time. So I feel like just for style wise, it would be Chapel Roan. But I feel like an actual guilty pleasure, which I don't even really care if people would know that I would listen to them, but I never got the whole like Nickelback's terrible stuff. I never understood it because it's just like I listen to their stuff all the time and I still do. So I guess that apparently that's considered guilty pleasure. But yeah, I never got into that whole like running joke of they were a terrible band because I like their stuff. So I
I'm sure
don't know.
Mike the Canadian is a huge Nickelback fan.
Yeah,
He's
probably. I would
he,
hopefully,
he
but
he seems like a Nickelback kind of guy.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I'd say so.
yeah,
Hopefully, we
yeah.
didn't just insult him with that, but
Man, what is he gonna do? He loves us. Mike loves us.
yeah, exactly. We
Uh,
get a free pass. We can say whatever we want.
there you go. I don't really have a guilty pleasure musician or artist. I more have like guilty pleasure songs. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like I'll go back and listen to, and I'm like, man, I hope nobody goes through my search history and finds this one on there. One that I can't seem to skip. You remember that one song? It was the one hit wonder. Somebody I used to know.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. The
I
show
for
cold
s-
back in the day.
I for some reason when that song kicks on, I can't skip it. I can't
It's a
skip
good
it.
song though. Like
I mean it is a really good song and like the harmony. I don't know what it is. I can't skip it. But like and another one, like I said, I have so many like guilty pleasure songs more than artists. I mean, for one, there was one point where the song "Lonely" by Justin Bieber was a good one.
oh
Was a frequent one on my playlist. Yeah, so
yeah.
it's more like guilty pleasure songs more than artists. You
Yeah.
know, but yeah,
That's fair.
those are a couple of my own. But we kind of have a vast, large kind of music taste and stuff like that. So it's hard
Yeah.
to find a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I've ever really like had like I said, unless Nickelback's considered a guilty pleasure, I guess. But yeah, it's just I pretty much will listen to just about anything except country. We won't do that.
Yeah, yeah, I can't get into country. I'm
Can't
sorry.
so that's a no for me. So
Yeah, I can't do that. Don't ever ask me to listen to anything country.
yeah, no thank you.
Next question. Will we ever see a joint stream on Twitch with you two?
Well, yeah,
Ooh.
I would think so. Like
Yeah,
at
I
some
mean,
point.
you used to stream all the time. You used to stream Dead by Daylight all the time.
Back
I
in the
think
day, I had a
yeah,
life back then. Yeah.
I think what he wants to see is he wants to see Shay on cam, face reveal,
Oh,
joint stream, us
well,
yelling at some wrestling.
well, I don't have a camera, so I don't think that the cam will be there. But you can still hear my voice. I mean, you guys know what I look like if you look at my Twitter and stuff. So it's like it's not like I'm just like this faceless voice that
Yeah.
just into the
You're an
void.
AI, yeah, you're an AI
Yeah,
voice.
I'm the AI voice that I warned you about. So but no, at some point we do need to do like a I don't know, like a non-wrestling Dead by Daylight stream or something,
Yeah,
just
we need to
to
do something.
do something. It would be a good time.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm actually like getting into like occasionally I'll do like non-wrestling streams where like I'll play like I've been playing South Park Fractured But Whole
No, no.
on yeah, on
Oh
stream.
no.
Yeah, and that's been a lot of fun too and it's always fun now because every the thing is with me and streaming I don't know what a lot of other wrestling streamers do, but I feel like a lot of wrestling streamers sort of stay within that bubble of other wrestling streamers. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of the one that's always venturing out and going into finding streamers like the typical streamers you see on the internet and on Twitter and stuff like that. And I infiltrate those communities.
Yeah.
And like and then they're like, oh, he does the wrestling thing. He's someone I can feel comfortable because I'm still finding that people are kind of shy when it comes to talking about their love for wrestling.
Yeah.
And so, like, now what I do is I infiltrate those streamer gaming Twitch communities and I find wrestling fans there and it's so much interesting and I feel like if you were to get in what we do and now like I said last time I'm raising a bunch of degenerate gamblers who are gambling with every match that's on Raw or SmackDown or Dynamite or something like that. It's a lot of fun, but being just a kind of like a niche streamer, like in a niche kind of is very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, you did kind of start it because you put the bet on Dakota, so
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, that was. I'm telling you, as soon as she hit that kick and Lyra
I know.
rolled out of the ring, I was like, there it goes, there it goes.
And all the life just left my body at that point. I'm like, it's so fucking over. I hate everything. I hate it here.
we're never gonna live that one down.
I'm never gonna know a day
Uh,
of peace with this, I swear.
oh,
Oh
this
well.
is an interesting one here. What's one of your favorite books?
Oh, oh, that's a tough one because I have a whole two bookshelves worth of books.
Oh, you're a reader.
I would like to be. I try to get a little more into it, but video games are also a thing. That's my form of entertainment, I guess. I feel like the last book I was reading was actually, this is gonna be so fucking nerdy. It was the novelization of the Skyrim books.
Okay.
So basically, what it is, to anyone that lives under a rock and doesn't know what Skyrim is probably one of the most popular games of all time. My personal favorite game of all time. And in the game, I probably couldn't tell you, thousands upon thousands of just books and shit. And I think what they did with these like physical copies is they took all of the books in Skyrim and kind of made them into an actual like novelization, and they have like three
Nice.
different sets. And I only had the one set at first, which was kind of just like the origins of the universe of Skyrim and how it came to be and whatever. And for the life of me, I could never find the second or third volume in the Barnes and Noble bookstores around Pittsburgh. So I'm just like, I'm gonna have to end up buying these things on like Amazon or something, and I don't really know what the hell, or I don't even know if I want to because they're probably like $5,000 because they're like because they're probably like the rare versions. And then
Right.
turns out for my birthday last year, my one coworker who was also a gamer, he ended up getting me the full set. So
Nice.
so now I have volumes one, two, and three, and one times two. Because now I have two of them. But I always find it very interesting, especially if I'm like in the middle of my, I don't know, bi-monthly Skyrim kick, where it's like I'll play a couple games. I'm like, I'm going back to Skyrim because I can, and so it's fun
It's
to
your
kind
it's
of.
your it's your comfort game.
Yes, it is absolutely my comfort game, and that's never going to change. So I feel like once I get back into that, inevitably, I'll get back into the book again because I think I'm about halfway through the first one, but then I'll have to get through the other ones. But that's the number one I can think of off the top of my head that I have at least read for at least a little bit lately.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I don't want to say I'm a book reader because I'm not. I
Yeah,
occasionally like get like kind of like hyper focused, and then I'll find something that I want to read and I'll read that and I'll finish it, and then I won't pick up another book for like months. But
yeah,
the last book that I read that I was just like, wow, this is really good. It's a book I've talked about. I don't know if I talked about it here on the podcast, but I've talked about it on streaming stuff. It's a really popular book. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's one of those like self-help books, but it's a really interesting approach because it exposes the idea that we live in a world that people are going to therapy and getting therapy, which is a good thing, but
Yes.
a lot of the therapy is geared towards be appreciative of everything, and everything is a blessing, and everything is great, and everything is wonderful. You just have to find it. Whereas this book tells you, like, no, there's going to be aspects and parts of life that are absolutely shit and they
Yeah,
absolutely suck, but it is what it is, and expect that things are going to be shitty, and it's all about what do you do to get out of that. How do you shift your focus? How do you change your mind to understand that, yeah, life is great and you should be appreciative and thankful of the life that you have, because there are people that do have it worse, but that doesn't mean that there aren't aspects of life that is absolutely shitty. And it's
yeah,
all about what you do with that and how do you go about, working around that. So again, if any, I always recommend it to anybody that's kind of like feeling like, oh, like what am I doing? What is wrong with me? Read that book, and it kind of just shifts your focus into, okay, yes, this is a bad situation. How do I get myself out of it? Again, it's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's a really, really good book, I think.
hey, nice. You heard it here
Nice.
first, guys.
There you go. There you go. There's some book recommendations on the Ringside Rundown podcast. Next question from Mike is, if you're a documentary fan, what is your favorite documentary?
Ooh, trying to think if I've watched any documentaries recently. Hmm. I don't think that I actually have, as far as I can
Mm,
remember. I mean, I feel like the only time I'll ever watch a documentary is if it like it's about something I obviously am interested in. But
Mhm.
I don't go like searching for documentaries to watch because I'm bored.
Right.
I mean, I guess the WWE documentaries count. So the most recent one um, I remember watching was the Damian Priest documentary, and that one was really good. I
Yeah, that
enjoyed
was
that
really
one.
good.
I think
Yeah.
it was also cool too because we actually got to see like the premiere of it since we were at
Right.
SummerSlam that weekend. So that was really cool getting to see it for the first time. And they always do a good job of those documentaries, so it wasn't really a surprise. But it was kind of nice to be in an entire room full of just people that are there for the same reason, and they're always like cheering and screaming, and everybody was there. Damien and Rhea were there, so that was pretty cool. So I feel like that counts. So that was probably the best documentary I've seen recently. But normally, I usually don't go looking for them.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah. Um, most of the documentaries I've seen are wrestling based. I think my favorite wrestling documentary, it's actually, you can find it on YouTube for free. It's like almost like a 3 hour documentary. It's on the history of world class championship wrestling in Texas, the Von
Mm,
Erichs
no.
and the Von Erich tragedy. Obviously, everybody, if you've seen the Iron Claw, you know about the Von Erichs and the Von Erich tragedy. This kind of goes into more detail of everything and adds into things that most people didn't see in the movie or didn't know about, and not only with the Von Erichs, but also with world class championship wrestling as a whole, with like Gina Hernandez, Gentleman Chris Adams, and
Hmm.
all the stuff that they went through. So that's my favorite wrestling documentary. My favorite non wrestling documentary is probably a documentary. It's called Roadrunner. It's on the life of Anthony Bourdain.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I'm a huge Anthony Bourdain guy. I think he's like the coolest guy in the world, and all he did was like travel the world and eat food and meet people and learn about culture. And I'm like, that's a pretty cool life. And he was a really cool guy. So I always kind of idolized Anthony Bourdain. So the Roadrunner documentary, which is about like his career and like how he got his start and everything like that, that's always a great documentary that I was a fan of.
Yeah, cool. I'm gonna have to check
All
that one
right.
out then.
All right, here we go. Here's an interesting one that I think is going to make us think.
Ooh.
Would you rather go back to 12 years old with all the knowledge you have now, or would you rather go 10 years into the future with $20 million dollars in the bank?
Oh damn. Um I mean, I feel like oh, back to when we were 12 years old. Oh, that was a time.
Yeah. Man.
See, I feel like even if you're 12 years old and even if you know all the stuff you would know, okay, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. If I knew back then what I know now, I still don't think it would have I'm not going to say changed anything, but I feel like when you're 12 years old, it's kind of hard to comprehend a lot of stuff
Right,
as it is. And
right.
so all the stuff that I've learned since then probably would be a little too much for a 12-year-old to handle. So I'll take the $20 million. I think I can suffer through that because I think at that point I'd be 38. So yeah, I could use 20 million and I could retire early and do whatever the hell I want. So yeah, I'll take the 10 years in the future and for the 20 million because I don't want to subject poor little 12-year-old me to what's in store. Let's not
Yeah,
do that.
that's the thing. It's like with everything that happened from like 12 years old till now, everything that I know, it's like, do I want to put that sort of burden on 12-year-old me to just be like, well, this is what life is gonna be like when you get
Good luck.
older? It's just like, yeah, it's just like, oh no.
No.
But then it's like 10 years into the future, what if I miss something major that happens, but I'm poor
Yeah.
now, so $20 million
Yeah. Yes.
does seem nice.
Yeah.
I,
It's tough.
I've it's one of those questions that like you think about it and then you feel yourself slowly going crazy because it's like, if I go 10 years into the future, what if somebody dies? You know,
Oh,
like
don't even. Oh, oh
yeah,
no. Oh,
yeah, you know, see, that's the way
ugh.
my mind works.
Oh, I
That's
don't
the way
like
my
that
mind,
either. Like,
yeah. So, but then
ugh.
it's like, remember when this and this and this happened to you? Do you want to have to live with that memory as a child? And so it's like, it's tough.
God.
Um,
Mm.
I'll probably take the money. I'll probably take
Yeah, I
the money.
yeah, because like I said, I don't think 12-year-old me would really appreciate knowing all of this. I don't
Yeah,
think she needs to know
yeah.
all of that. So yeah, we'll spare the little children.
I'll take the money. I'll take the money.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So next up, if you could remove Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, which would it be and why?
Um, I feel like TikTok because I don't have a TikTok, so I feel like that's just the easy
They're getting
answer.
rid of it anyway. Of course,
Supposedly.
as soon as I get over 1,000 followers on TikTok,
They're like, nope, okay, time's up,
yeah,
you're done.
they must have been waiting. Like, there's no way he should have over 1,000 followers. We
Yeah.
got to pull the plug. Something's wrong
All right,
here
we're
on
done.
this
Cut
app.
it.
Yeah, yeah, something's wrong. If he's getting 1,000 followers, there's something wrong with the app. We
Stop.
need to pull the plug.
Oh god, no, I feel like okay, I feel like Twitter or TikTok's the easy answer, but if I had to pick between like any of the others, I would say Facebook. That's another easy one
Yeah,
because Facebook's just a cesspool of just shit.
Yeah, yeah. I would go with Facebook too because it's sort of that thing like when you're out in public and you don't want to see anybody you went to school with.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's kind of like that on Facebook. You log on and it's just you're bombarded with people you went to school with, all trying to sell you a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, that or they're posting things about stuff you don't want to hear, and then it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's
yeah,
get
let's
Facebook out of here.
yeah, it's not.
Yeah. All right. What is one historical event you wish you could have witnessed with your own eyes so that you state with absolute authority of what happened? Wow.
Damn. All right. Mike,
Man.
Mike always loves hitting us with these, not existential, but just the hard hitting questions. Um, hmm, so much. I feel like I would want to go back to like I want to go back to ancient Greece for like the first Olympic Games because
Oh, okay.
I'm as we've talked about before, I do love and I'm interested in mythology, especially Greek mythology. So I feel like that'd be
Right.
kind of cool to see the first one before it turned into what it is now. Because it's obviously not the same, but I think that would be pretty interesting. I think. I mean, granted, there's already history on it, but that is still a historical event. I think I'll count it. So, yeah, I just want to go back to ancient Greece. Or I did have another one because I realized I just remembered it when I was talking about that one. I'd want to, with the caveat of coming back in one piece and not dying from it. It would be kind of interesting to see in real time the or Pompeii when in the eruption, just to see
Oh,
again the caveat of making it back in one piece and not being frozen in time
right.
and
Yeah.
dead. But because I remember they had like a traveling like exhibition at the one science center in town a couple of years ago, and I went to see it, and it was pretty cool. But you also can't help but have that more of a thought of just like, could you even imagine living through that kind of shit? And then the next thing you know, you're just dead. You're just buried under ash, and just you're somewhat preserved for like people thousands of years in the future to look at. And I'm just like, that would be cool to see happen, not so much experience, but I think those would be the two things I would go back and be like, hey guys, guess what? I got some some stuff to tell you, but
See, I like how you went with like the historical things, which is the question.
you
But for
didn't.
me, my like for me, it's like what do I consider history? So I always go
Yeah.
back to sports,
Yeah.
you know? So
That's
I
that's
go back
fair.
to, yeah, I go back to sports and it's like I want to live through that because to me it's like I want to feel that emotion and I think um two things, two sports around centered around mostly the same thing. I want to go back to the 2001 World Series
Hmm.
because that series happened literally weeks after 9/11
Yeah.
and that was when the Yankees were in the World Series against the Diamondbacks and that went all the way to game 7 and it was a crushing loss in game 7 but the fact that like multiple instances during the World Series when they were playing in New York, they were able to come back and make it such a memorable World Series and such a special time for the city. I
Yeah.
think I would want to be able to experience that. And another one centered around the New York Yankees, of course, would be the 2003 ALCS Game 7, where
Mhm.
Aaron Boone hit the home run off of Pedro Martinez, or not Pedro Martinez, off of Tim Wakefield, rather. He
Yeah.
hit the home run to send the Yankees to the World Series. I think that's my favorite Yankee moment of all time. And that moment in particular, I sacrificed almost losing my life because I woke my mom up from
Oh no.
from
Oh.
screaming so loud, and it
Yeah.
was on a school night, and I shouldn't even been watching TV.
You're just like, "Nope, we're
Yeah.
doing it. I don't care."
I don't care because like I'm like just that game in particular. The simple fact that he hit a walk off home run for the Yankees to go to the World Series, and I was witnessing it as it happened. Like this is my life. This really happened. I did see this. It was just like
Yeah.
it was the coolest moment ever. So yeah, I would love to be there in person for that.
Nah, that'd be a pretty good one too.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I got to open up the questions now because my phone went. All right. Who is your oldest friend, and how long have you known them for?
All right, that's an easy one for me. That would be my best friend Auden. I have known them for, and I did the math before this, coming up on 21 years now.
21 years.
Yeah, we've known each other since I was in second grade and they were in first grade. And that is just one of those friendships that's never going to go anywhere. And I feel like if it's one of those that if it did, I'm just like, well, I can't have any other friends ever again. Because if I lose them as a friend, I have done something terribly wrong. Because we've just seen, I mean, literally, we've grown up together. We've seen literally every version of each other. And we could go days, weeks, a month, or whatever without talking. But then, like, just as soon as we start talking again, it's like nothing ever happened. So yeah, Auden's definitely somebody that I can always count on, no matter how busy we are. I know that they still care about me. I still care about them. So yeah, that's a very special friendship because I don't think many friendships last decades, like
Yeah,
literal decades. So yeah, that one was definitely the easiest question for me.
especially nowadays because like there's
Yes.
so many like people trying to tell you like, you should behave this way as a person. So like if your
Hmm.
friends are acting this way, they're not really your friends. Like there's so many things that make us impressionable as humans that like it's hard to keep friends for that long.
Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely a friendship I always cherish and don't take for granted because it's been around a long time. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. For me in particular, um most people like if you hang around like the Twitch streams, you know these people. My friend Josh, who I used to do um podcasting with, the wrestling podcast, he's like one of my oldest friends, probably from like, and it's funny because when I put this in math, it doesn't seem that long, but it is kind of long. Probably I want to say 2010 ish.
yeah,
And it's like, usually, like I said, it's kind of hard to keep friends for that long. But I think he and my friend Alexandra, who I also met around like 2010, and it's funny too because we're in a time now where like our internet friends become like our closest friends, and
yeah,
Alexandra is someone that's like someone I met through social media, and then we've always been tight for like, every day we talk to each other. Same thing with Josh. It's like every day we're sending like wrestling memes to each other and
yeah,
laughing about something that happened wrestling. So it's always good to like, recognize who your friends are and who's been around for the longest.
yeah. It's crazy as time goes on how that
Yeah.
evolves and how no matter how you change or how somebody changes, you can still be friends with them like nothing ever changed. So it's those are those special friendships you don't want to let go of.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So here's a sort of a melancholy one. Of all the people we've lost in 2024, who hit you the hardest?
Oh, ew, Mike. Oh no. Oh, that's tough. Um, oh. I feel like this one is definitely not a popular answer,
Mm,
because it's drag related, so obviously it's never going to be in the super mainstream. But there was a queen who literally had just passed a couple weeks ago, and her name was the Vivian, and she was from the UK. And the thing that like hit me about it is because obviously I knew, not personally knew her, but I was a fan of her. She was the first winner of the UK version of RuPaul's Drag Race. She was like a very well-known queen in the UK and around the world. And I think what kind of got me about it was the fact of, besides being a fan of hers, was the fact that she was only 32.
wow.
Yeah, and I'm like, that is 4 years between me and her. So it's
Yeah.
like, ooh, I don't like that one bit. But more or less the fact of I was a fan of hers, and it's just a shame that some of these people are just dying so young that it's like, what is going on? This is just kind of, and it's always those ones just out of nowhere too, where mom and I were literally going to get dinner somewhere, and she was like picking it up, and I'm on my phone, and I saw like the, it had to have been like the like PR place or whatever she worked with had released like a statement, and I didn't notice the name at first, and then when I saw the Vivian, I'm like, why are these people doing these jokes? This is a fucking terrible joke. This is rude, whatever. And then when I read it, I'm like, no, it actually is her. And it
Yeah.
just kind of like just knocked the wind completely out of me. And yeah, it just it sucks. It's just, it's never fun when these things happen, obviously, but especially when it's somebody that you were a fan of or looked up to in some way or knew
Yeah.
or saw on a show or something. It's just like, God damn it. Like, it's not great. It sucks, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, that is life. Is
Y-
yeah,
Yeah, like you said earlier, like when they're kind of close in age, it's kind of like, oh man, that kind of stinks because it lets you know like it could happen at any time.
yeah,
That's the way life is. It can happen at any time. Um, I got we did lose a lot of people in 2024.
yeah, yeah.
I think I think one that kind of knocked me back because I was actually in the middle of like binge watching the show
Mhm.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine
Oh
was
yeah,
when Andre Brower died. I was just like,
yeah,
wow, like damn, like and not that we should know, not that we are allowed to be privy to the information, but a lot of times you don't know if like these people are sick,
yeah.
they have something going on, some like uh a condition that we're not privy to. So
Mhm.
it's just like when they pass away suddenly you're like, wow. And like I was just such a fan of his work, especially on the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because of the character that he played. I was just like, man. So that was one that kind of stuck with me,
Yeah,
but I don't know, it's just kind of like celebrities dying. I always had a weird, like, unless it was like wrestling related, like I don't know, I would always be like, oh man, that sucks,
yeah.
and then I would feel bad, like, oh my god, am I a piece of shit? Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah, like I should feel
why,
worse.
like, and then like
Yeah.
James Earl Jones died in 2024,
Oh,
and that was kind of like,
that one
like for me,
sucks too. Like,
yeah, I mean, obviously that sucks for you, especially being a Star Wars fan and everything like that.
yeah,
Like, having to like relive those memories of like probably like when the first time you saw Star Wars
yeah.
and things like that. So yeah, 2024 wasn't very kind to celebrities and people that kind of admire these people that sadly went away.
Yeah, death is never a fun thing to deal with,
No,
unfortunately.
definitely not. Definitely not.
No.
Um, but let's move on from the sadness. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I definitely need your take on this one.
Oh
Root
no.
beer, ginger ale, or Fresca? You got a fridge full of which one?
Ginger ale.
Ginger ale.
I do like ginger ale, yeah. I do.
Oh,
Well, I'm assuming clearly you don't by that
I mean,
sound of disgust.
I like ginger ale. It's one of those things like I like pineapple on pizza, but I don't go for it. Like
Well, I
like
mean, I
I
would never go for a fridge full of ginger ale either, but that was the question, and that's the one that I like the most. So,
I would actually go with something that I do like. A fridge full of root beer would work for
yeah.
me.
I haven't had
You
a
know,
root beer in a very long time. It's been too
oh
long.
man, a good root beer, a good mug root beer. What?
Yeah.
Oh man, I need that in my life. Do you have a favorite planet? And if so, what is it?
Do we have a favorite plant? Not a specific one that I can come up with. This is such a random question. It's a fun one because I'm just like, where does he come up with this these kind of questions? But I can't say that I have one honestly. I don't know. It's just
I
you just
do Earth, the one I live
yeah.
on.
Well, I mean, yeah, that would. I mean, hopefully, it just doesn't go into gradual decline like it is. But
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm riding this motherfucker till the wheels fall off, as they say.
yeah, we're just doing our best.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not Saturn or Jupiter or Uranus.
No,
None
no.
of
What about
none of those.
Pluto? But Pluto,
Pluto.
like,
Pluto gets no respect.
I know. Well, technically, does it count? Because isn't there like they don't count Pluto anymore as
See?
a
See what I
planet? I don't
mean?
know, but I'm
See what I
like,
mean?
but we like Pluto. Like Pluto's cool.
See, Pluto, I would never disrespect you that way.
We stand. We stand.
Yeah,
We
we
stand Pluto.
we stand Pluto.
I
That's a
guess. Yeah.
oh my god. All right. What is something you were absolutely sure was true in your life that got proven to be false? And did it devastate you to find out you had believed the lie? Ooh.
Mm.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a.
I mean, mine's pretty easy. Mine's
Okay.
pretty easy, and it's. I mean, when you hear, it, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, well,
Oh.
when I figured out that wrestling was predetermined.
Oh.
you
I love that we went two completely different routes on that. I went literal. I didn't really go like Santa's not real or something.
no, that was yeah, that devastated me. That ruined my life. That ruined my life. No, I'm joking.
Right. I mean that is definitely an understandable one. See, this is where my mind went. My mind went like existential, not like
I definitely want to hear this. Yeah, let's hear the existential one.
this is gonna sound so depressing, but I guess it kind of is, where it's like I think um and I guess it kind of does play into the whole you have to kind of believe the lie because sometimes it's true, but sometimes it isn't, where it's like not everybody has good intentions.
True.
I think that was something that I learned way too young, unfortunately, is that people are never going to have the best intentions. They're always going to have, not always, but a good portion of the time, going to have selfish, ulterior motives, and
Yes.
that you could have the biggest heart in the world. And I think that's not a blessing and a curse because you could be a very good person, but people can take advantage of that. So I feel like growing up, that was you kind of lose the naiveness of it all, where you're like, oh yeah, people are always nice. People are always gonna like have like your well being and like in like consideration, and that's unfortunately not the case most of the time. So, and then you kind of have to like believe the lie because there is always that chance that people do actually have good intentions, but there's just so much of the other side of it where people don't have the best of intentions, where you're kind of just
Yeah.
like, well, I hope you're not one of those. Like I hope you're different than the others, but
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
One thing I learned in life that I always found interesting is when I was told not everybody is going to have the same heart as you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I've
And
been
it's
told
just
that
like
too.
yeah, and it's just like, wow, yeah, I guess you're right about that, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's okay to have your guard up. Especially with people nowadays. We're exposed to all different walks of life now, but it's like when you get bombarded with that information, it kind of can be overstimulating. So you kind of have to have your guard up when it comes to people.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a shame you have to get to that point, but
Yeah,
it'd be
yeah,
like that.
yeah. That's a good way to put it. It be like that. What is your coolest piece of memorabilia?
Who? Um, I got to think about that one because I do.
You
I even
collect a lot of stuff.
I do. I feel like my therapist and I talked about it, not in like it's a problem, but more or less the fact of she's like, how do you start your collections or how do you get these collections? And I'm like, I feel like I do them accidentally, where I'm like, I never realize I have a collection until I'm like halfway through it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I do have like multiple things of. I mean, but I guess a collection is very subjective too. Like you could have a collection of Funkos, you could have a collection, like I guess in our case, tattoos. Like
Right.
that's a collection in of itself. But I feel like physical piece of memorabilia, I feel like just for the rarity of it and the fact that I literally just talked about this a couple days ago too, where it was I was on Reddit and in the thread of what I'm about to explain, it'll make sense in a minute. They were like, what is the one piece of memorabilia you'll never part with? And to me, the easiest answer is my Princess Leia Carrie Fisher autograph picture.
Nice.
And I said, I will never. That is one of those absolutely. I am not one of those people where it's like, I'm never going to part with it. And then someone gives me enough money and I'm like, oh, well, it's like no amount of money in the world will ever make me give that picture up. That is never going anywhere. That will always be with me until the day I die because we know that I love Carrie Fisher. She was my like Princess Leia is my favorite Star Wars character, and so the fact that I was able to get the holy grail of autographs for me. Granted, was it cheap? No, but it's cheaper than it could have been because I've seen prices for her autographs in some spots and it was ungodly. But just the fact that I was able to actually attain it was just like, holy fuck, I actually have it
Yeah.
and it's never left the like thing it's came in. It's sitting in there because I'm not putting it up on these walls because I don't trust these walls. But yeah, that is the one piece of memorabilia that is to me the coolest, and I will never, ever, ever, ever get rid of that ever.
That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. Um, Memorabilia. I think for me, I have because I used to, with like we talked about music
Yeah,
earlier and the type of music that we listen to. I come from like the Warp Tour era,
yeah,
going to Warp Tour, going to Ozfest and things like that. And one year I had the idea to go with a plain white shirt, and any
hmm,
band that I met, I would have them sign the shirt. So
nice.
I ended up coming home with this shirt that was signed by like all the big bands at the time. I'm talking like Atreyu, Slipknot. I have
Oh,
yeah, especially Joey
damn.
Jordison, who's not with us anymore. I
Yeah,
have his
damn.
autograph, like all the big bands that played. I got incredibly lucky. Like it was part because I was putting on local shows with bands. So
Hmm.
anytime Warp Tour would come around, it was like all the local music promoters like myself would congregate, and like I was able to go backstage behind and meet like Tom from Blink 182,
Yeah,
and like
shit.
they're like Ollie from Bring Me the Horizon is like
Damn.
someone that, yeah, like that's I always tell that story. It's funny because I saw Bring Me the Horizon, their very first tour in the United States. And I saw them in Philly at a place called the Church, which is basically it's a church, and it was in the basement of a church. Imagine
Oh,
Bring Me the Horizon in
that
the basement of a church. And like
that
we
makes so much
actually
sense, unfortunately. Like, that
yeah,
makes too much sense.
yeah, and it's like, I always had that personality when I talk to these bands that, like I kind of just like make them laugh and whatnot. So they remember me to the point where I was in line for Warp Tour, waiting to get into Warp Tour. Ollie from Bring Me the Horizon walks past us,
Uh-huh.
and like everybody's freaking out, and I'm just like, yo, Ollie, and he turns around and he sees me, and of course it's me in the wheelchair, so he like grabs me and gives me a big hug,
Oh,
because he remembers me, and like all these kids are around me just like freaking out,
losing it.
like yeah, like how did that just happen, how do you
Yeah.
know him? And it's just like, I don't know, it's just
You're
that's
like,
my
I'm
life.
just important. What can I say?
Yeah, so like I have a bunch of like pictures and like I said, that autographed shirt with like a bunch of signatures from bands. I even think Matt Hardy, who was doing a signing at Warped Tour, is on
Okay.
there. Yeah, it was
Hey,
like the
why not?
most. Yeah, it was like, of course, my life is. I'm at Warped Tour and I'm talking wrestling with Matt Hardy.
Yeah,
It's just like
normal
yeah, but
stuff. Normal stuff.
yeah, that T-shirt, I have it in my closet. It's somewhere buried because it's like, have you ever been to Warped Tour?
Funny enough, the very first Warp Tour I ever went to was the last Warp Tour in Pittsburgh. It was the last tour.
Okay,
So
so you
yeah,
probably know this. You probably, when you go to Warp Tour, by the end of Warp Tour, it's like you come out of war.
I'm
You
dead. I am like
know?
one degree away from heat stroke. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, and it's just
yeah,
like, and that shirt, like it's a white t-shirt that's like stained, and
yeah.
it's just sweat marks and just like nastiness, because when you go to Warp Tour, it's literally like you're fighting for your life. You're fighting against the heat, you're
Yes,
fighting for your life, you're fighting against other kids. And then, like you said, towards the end of Warp Tour, they started doing this thing like between the bands, they would start throwing bottles,
yeah,
like they're launching bottles at each other, and it's just like, I'm getting too old for this. I got to get the hell out of here.
yeah. I gotta go. You're like, I gotta get out of
Yeah.
here.
All right.
No.
So, next question. Do you think you could hack it in a wrestling locker room? All the alleged drug use, infidelity, ribs, all that stuff. You think
Mm,
you would make it in a wrestling locker room?
absolutely not. Absolutely not. My anxiety would eat me alive in a place
Yeah.
like that. I can't. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
No.
I think a wrestling locker room this day and age, I would be okay with, because I feel
Yeah.
like this day and age, the locker room seems like it's just mostly guys that are into fitness,
Yeah.
taking care of their bodies,
Games.
and playing video games.
Yeah.
If this was like the Attitude Era,
I would die.
no way, no way, because I'd be worried somebody's trying to put like a turd in my sandwich.
Someone's trying to blackmail you. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, no, no. I'm good. I'm good on that.
Yeah. I'll wait.
I'll stay in my lane. I'll stay in my lane.
I think also, especially as a woman too, I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah,
I'm
I
good.
actually was thinking about that earlier. Like, we watched last night. We watched Dakota Kai and Lyra Valkyria
Yeah.
go to
Yeah.
war. Like, they
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah, they
You
did.
know, and I'm thinking to myself, man, if this was like 1997, we would have never seen
Not
this.
even close.
We would have never seen a woman suplex another woman from the
Oh,
apron to the floor.
that hurt. That made me hurt. Like,
We
oh,
all went like, holy Jesus
like,
Christ.
can we please
I,
not kill Dakota? Please, I'm begging you. Like, I can't
yeah,
take it again.
yeah. So I was just like, yeah, to me, I don't think back in the Attitude Era I would have made it in the locker room. Um
No, I'm good. I'll
yeah.
pass.
Here's another wrestling question. What would you say has been the most over the line in wrestling? Bret Hart, HBK, Sunny Days, Jerry Lawler, Jerry Gilbert, funeral, MJF, Cole Dentist line from a couple weeks ago on
Yeah.
Dynamite.
Mm.
Uh Owen 316 says, I just broke your neck. Which one you got? What's your line that made you go, ooh, that was stiff?
I feel like the Sunny Days one was
Yeah, that was
pretty
kind of,
bad. I'm like, oh, you didn't really have to go there, did you? And
yeah.
yet you did. And yeah, no, that one was just kind of like a
Yeah,
yikes.
sunny days. I still, like, if I'm watching that episode of Raw, I'm like, here it comes, here it comes, and then he says, I'm like, and like, oh, he said the thing.
Yeah, the
For
visceral
me,
reaction.
yeah. Remember when after Eddie Guerrero passed away, when Randy Orton told Rey Mysterio that Eddie Guerrero was in hell?
Oh yes. Oh. Yeah, that's yeah, it would be one.
Yeah,
It's yeah.
that was not a fun one. That was
No.
probably the one I was like, I don't like that. I wanna fight unsuccessfully. I wanna fight Randy Orton, but
You're
like,
like, I'm gonna fight. I'm punching
yeah,
him. I'm kicking his ass. Like,
I'm gonna
yeah.
I'm gonna punch him somewhere. It probably won't be in the face, but I'll probably like graze his shoulder,
Yeah, maybe. Like, I'll knock him down
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah, I'll
Oh.
give him a little tap. He'll know I exist. I'll tell you that
Yeah,
much.
right. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one was oof.
That was not fun. That was
Christ.
not fun.
Yeah.
If you could pick one event in life to get a complete do-over, what would it be and why?
Oh my god, Mike. Ugh. These are like fucking wild. I feel like for me personally, I feel like if I could do over going to therapy as late as I did, I would have gone
Mm,
sooner. I know that's a very
yeah.
like depressing kind of answer, but
No, that's actually a good answer.
I feel like the problem is, and I don't think it had nothing to do with like what I was brought up on personally. It had nothing to do with like what my parents taught me. I feel like growing up, it was always that stigma of like, okay, going to therapy is like, that's like shows you're weak. You could just, you need to
Right.
like tough it out. Like, that's like the last resort. And
Mhm.
I feel like by the time I got to the point of needing therapy, it was pretty damn close to rock bottom where I had to sit there and go, I need help that nobody in my immediate family or friends can provide. And I feel like
Mhm.
that was when I was finally like, okay, no amount of talking to someone who knows me personally is going to help this. I do need someone to actually like give me a different perspective because if not, it's going to end very badly. So I'm like, I think if I would have started that a little sooner than I did, it probably would have helped a little more. I feel like just the environment I was in at the time was not, I don't think any amount of therapy was going to fully help that. I think I just had to kind of get out of the toxic environment, but I feel like getting that extra help a little earlier would have been a little beneficial. So my PSA to everybody is if you feel like you need therapy, go do it. Like
Yeah.
you're not weak, you're not seen as less than by somebody, you're not weaker like physically or mentally than somebody who doesn't go to therapy. I feel like the strongest thing you can do is go to therapy because
Yeah.
it has done wonders for me. I can tell you that. I feel like me now versus me like 5 years ago is like a totally different person. So, I say go to therapy, guys, please. It could do nothing but benefit you. Even if and just do what I did the second time around because obviously I had my therapist back home and now I have my current therapist and I didn't honestly at the time feel like oh my god, I need to go to therapy or else something's going to happen, but I felt like all right, I'm noticing these like habits are coming back and I'm noticing these like kind of red flags and warning signs, so it was more of a proactive decision the second time around to do it. And
Right.
I feel like if I would have had that mindset the first time, it would have helped a little more. So that is definitely the one thing I would have changed. I wish I would have been a little more proactive about getting the help that I needed at the time.
Yeah. I always was of the belief that even if you thought like everything is great, life is wonderful, like therapy still wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like even if things are going well, like if you have the opportunity to seek therapy, then maybe you should because like it's always good to get like outside perspective from people who've done the studies on how the brain works and how
Yeah.
behaviors are actually um happen, so it's always good to get that perspective. That's why I always believed, hey, if things are going well, even if they're not, like, therapy is always a great option just to be able to talk to somebody. So like you said, if you feel like you need it, definitely go seek it out, make it happen. And even if you don't, if you just feel like you need to unload some stuff, it's always good to seek out as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think for me, it's not necessarily like a specific moment in life, but I think a time period in life was essentially like after I graduated high school. I
Hmm.
took a real long gap of like time where like I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't have really a plan because like my mom was just all about like graduate high school and get good
Yeah.
grades in high school, and if you graduate high school, like that to me is good enough. But that's because she comes from a time period where like all you needed was your high school diploma and you could make something of yourself,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
so I didn't have anybody pushing me to like maybe you should seek like college, or have a plan to figure out what you plan to do after you're done this high school stuff. So I think taking that like a long period of time off where I just wasn't doing nothing kind of hurt me,
Yeah.
because like now I'm in a spot where it's like I know I'm not working against the clock, but I feel like doing the streaming thing and doing the content stuff, it's great, it's awesome, I'm having a great time, but I'm also in an industry where like most of my peers are like 12, 15 years younger than I am,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
so it's kind of like I'm behind on the eight ball, and I got to try to make something of myself. So for me, if I could do one thing over, it'd probably be like figure out while I'm still like a senior in high school what I want to do. Like if I wanted to do something like this,
Hmm.
I mean, on YouTube, I'm old, okay? So
Yeah.
YouTube wasn't a big thing at the time, social media wasn't around. But if I would have had the wherewithal to like maybe start something wrestling wise while like MySpace was around
Yeah.
or something, I could have had something big. Like people would have come to me and come to you for like
Hmm.
information and content in wrestling. So it's always a big thing. I'm like, damn, I should have really did something after high school.
Yeah. Hindsight, unfortunately, is a pain in the ass, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But those are all of Mike's questions. Mike, thank you so much for all of your thought provoking questions and making this episode so great.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. We always
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Mike. All right, so now you take over, and I believe you have a block of questions from Mom, our
Yes.
podcast. Well, your mom and
Yeah.
my podcast mom.
Get the hot tag in here. So let me just get all comfy here. All right. So, Mom's first question is, what is our dream job?
Oh, that's easy. I want to work for the WWE.
That, hey, fair enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when I first thought about this, I was gonna say like work for my favorite sports team or work for the WWE or AEW, but I feel like I had that it's kind of funny how it worked out this way where that was always my like dream job growing up. I'm like, I'm gonna work like we'll just say like I'm gonna work for the Penguins. I'm gonna be like in the social media team for the Penguins, or in some capacity I'm gonna work for the Penguins. That's my team. But
Mhm.
then I remember in college, because obviously I went to school for sport management, and I remember we had somebody who used like an alumni come in, and I don't remember what he was doing at the time. I think he was working for the Pirates or something, and he said the biggest thing I can tell you guys right now is don't automatically assume that you want to work for your favorite team because
Really?
he said what happens too often is when you get inside these teams you see how things work and how they probably shouldn't be run, or how they like something might be in there that you don't necessarily like, but you don't see it because from a fan's perspective you don't see the inner workings of a team. So
Right.
he said I've seen it too many times where, well, I'm going to go work for my favorite team because like they're my favorite team, of course I'm going to enjoy it, and then you don't enjoy it and you end up by default resenting that team or hating that team, and you eventually just don't enjoy the sport anymore.
Mm.
So sitting there, I'm like, well, thank you for that. Cause now my like existential crisis just hits me full force where I'm just like, maybe I don't want to work for the Penguins anymore. Cause I'm like, yeah, I don't want to like lose my love of hockey or just sports in general, because that was like a big thing for me growing up, was always like some way, shape, or form. I was always centered around sports in some capacity. So I think the fact of like, oh well, I might not even enjoy it anymore was like a shock to the system for me. So I kind of was like, okay, maybe we're not going to do that. So I feel like for me now, and I feel like obviously if it's just a dream at any type of job that I get paid for and would enjoy it, I honestly feel like I would love to be I feel like I say this now, but I already kind of am, but if I can make a full living off of being my friends like drag assistants at their shows, that would be like the dream job for me, because I number one, I already do it when I'm at their shows. I help with the dollars. I help them with like their chain, like costume changes or like their changes and whatever. And I feel like I'm with my friends all the time. So
Right.
ideally, that would be great, because then it's just like I'm with my friends. I'm getting paid to essentially hang out with my friends and help them do what they love to do. And I would love doing it with them. So I feel like that would be my dream job now, which I don't think I ever would have said back then. Not that I didn't like drag back then, but I would have been like, no one's ever going to pick me up as their assistant. Now I'm like 50 Queens assistant in the city. So it's
There you
funny.
go.
Funny how fate works that way.
That's crazy. Yeah, I went to a drag show once, and it was just like, holy shit, this is crazy. This
It's
is like,
wild.
yeah, it's wild. Like the buckets of money that
Yes.
just flow out of this thing. It's just like I was mesmerized by the whole, as a person that used to put on local shows and things like that, I was mesmerized how they keep everything so in order, because this was
Eh,
like a 2-3 hour show that I know in the back probably is mass chaos.
yeah,
But
yeah, it
what
is. But
what the paying customers see is like just the entertainment. But I was just like, holy crap, there are people carrying around buckets specifically for money.
uh,
This
it's
is amazing.
it's funny how you say that though, because the running joke among drag queens is that they're always running on queen time. So
Uh-huh.
if the show starts at noon, it's not starting until 12:30. At least around here, I'm sure it's kind of a widespread thing, but that's always like the joke. Or if it's like we're in the break and it's like, okay, guys, we're gonna be back in 5 minutes. We're always like 15. It's never five. Like they queens talk. They like just bullshit all the time, and then the next thing you know, it's like 30 minutes have passed, and it's like, guys, you got to still go do the show. But
Seems like a party.
it is. It essentially is. Which I'll sit there with my water and not drink, but I will still have a good time regardless. But they're crazy, but that's why I love them.
Nice, nice.
Alrighty, so if we had to donate to a charity or two, what are our choices?
Mm, that's a good question.
Ooh, that's a good
I
one.
always, yeah, I always said if I like won the lottery or came upon an exorbitant amount of money where I could just do whatever, I would want to do two things. I would want to start a state of the art no kill animal shelter,
Yes.
mainly for like dogs and stuff like that, where even if the dogs cannot get adopted, they still live and stay in a facility where they can thrive and be dogs and not have to worry about, well, nobody's adopting me, so I'm not having this good life. So I've always wanted to open up like a state of the art facility to house as many animals as possible, and kind of take care of animals that way, where even if they're not getting adopted and they're not getting chosen to be a part of these forever families, they still feel comfortable and still can live a great life. Other than that, I come from a mother that, she was a single mom raising two kids, one of which was disabled, so times were tough.
Yeah.
We had to depend on welfare and housing assistance and things like that. So I would actually want to get into um like the housing assistance, where I can help people who are kind of like down on their luck, at least trying to find some housing, and not just like rundown housing that's like broken down. I know what it's like to be like, damn, I wish I could have that really nice fridge with the ice maker,
Yeah.
like, or something like that. So I want to be able to have places where it's like for people, that don't have to worry about paying like $2,000 in rent. I
Mhm.
think that's completely unfair. I want to have these facilities for low income families that are kind of down on their luck, but don't have to feel like, oh, because I'm low income or I'm down on my luck, I have to live in a shack. If
Yeah.
I can do something, I can still live in a nice maintained home. So between animals and helping out the less fortunate with housing is something that I've always wanted to get into.
See, and it's funny that you mentioned that because I feel like if I could do something like that, I would do something for LGBTQIA plus, like specifically youth, but pretty much anybody who like loses family over coming out, because I've seen that happen way too many times where these people get kicked out of their house because God forbid they want to be their true self. So I feel like give them affordable and just substantial housing where they don't
Yeah.
where they had it and now they don't for stupid fucking reasons. But also I feel like I would do something with mental health as well, because that definitely goes hand in hand where
Oh yeah.
it's mental health's always important, but I feel like especially for like the queer youth and just queer people in general, I think it's always especially needed because they have a whole set of issues and problems they have to deal with on day-to-day lives just by trying to live as their authentic selves. So I feel like anything I could do to help them would be very helpful because I've grown up in a very fortunate situation where I have a very good support system, and
Right.
I have seen friends, unfortunately, who do not have that same support system, and it makes me very angry because I don't think a family's love should be conditional, especially when it comes to
Right.
that kind of stuff where it's like, oh well, we loved you until you came out, and well, we don't really agree with that anymore. It's like that. I think that's
Yeah.
total fucking bullshit because you shouldn't not love your kid because they're just trying to be themselves. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, so anything I could do to help them in some way would be what I would try to do if I had the money.
That sounds awesome. Maybe we gotta start playing the lottery more.
I guess I feel like that's the only way we're gonna get that kind of money. I feel like so. Who knows? We might get new state of the art stuff too, and then we get all the things.
There we go.
All right, we're gonna win the lottery. That's the plan, guys. That's the full-on plan. All right. So, what was the peach and the pit of 2024 for you? All right. So I would assume that means what was like the best thing that happened, or like good things that happened, and then what was like the bad things that happened, or a bad
Hmm.
thing, I guess. I would assume that's what it meant. I had no time. I forgot to
Peach
clarify
in
that.
the pit. I like
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
such a mom saint. So it makes sense. I should have clarified this when I talked to her earlier, but I would just assume it's what was like the best thing or like a good thing that happened, and then what was like a bad thing that happened.
I think the peach would probably be, expanding the ringside rundown content.
Yeah.
I think cuz like I just it was one of those things. My mom had just gotten out of the rehab facility because she had the stroke, and it was one of
Hmm.
those things where it was like, damn man, I know it's not true, but I feel like a shitty son. Like I should be doing something more to make my mom's life more comfortable
Yeah.
in this period of time because she spent so many years raising me and whatnot. And I was just like, I gotta do something with my life. So that's when I was just like, screw it, I'm gonna take what I know, this wrestling stuff, and I'm just gonna do as much as I can with it. And it's been great. I mean, like I said, the TikTok's been great. The YouTube is at a point now where I can go a day or two without uploading things, and we
Yeah.
still get a massive amount of subs. And the Twitch streaming, it's keeping me active and keeping me feeling like I'm doing something
Hmm.
with my life. So to me, being able to cultivate our little ringside community that we have, is definitely been, I guess, the peach of it all.
Yeah.
The pit, I don't know. I don't know what the pit. I don't want to say there's definitely been some pit moments, but like
Yeah.
it's all been like, it's all just been run of the mill, like something, when you have those mental days where you're like
Yeah.
stuck, and like things are not going your way, and you kind of get involved with the wrong people. I think
Hmm.
maybe that's been the pit of 2024, was like towards the end there. I kind of got involved with someone I shouldn't have,
Hmm.
and now that kind of weighs heavy on my mind because that dissolved and there's nothing to it except like bad memories.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, if anything, that was probably the pit. But I feel like so much of what has happened with the ringside rundown and how massive that has taken over my life on a daily basis, that like the pit was bad, but the peach was better.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You know,
That's good. Right? We made progress.
made progress.
Yeah, like I said, especially with the channel, I owe you a lot of congrats and a lot of pats on the back because without you putting all this work in, it wouldn't be where it is now. Like we've talked about it 5,000 times before, I feel like on the show where I am just pulled in so many different directions with like work and just life and shit that it's like I couldn't even do half the stuff that you do. So I'm very appreciative for you being able to put the work in to get it where it is because you are definitely the face of the ringside rundown. I am I don't
Oof.
know.
I don't know if that's
The
a. I don't know if
sidekick.
that's a.
Yes, I don't
I
know.
don't. I don't know if me being the face of the ringside rundown is a good
I
thing.
mean,
Uh,
it's
uh,
working though, so
but like like I always say, one day, like anytime there's WrestleMania that comes around, you see all the big media personalities do all the interviews, and I'm like, one day that's gonna be Shay and I, and
yeah,
they're gonna say the ringside rundown, they were the best part of like the media experience for us
yeah.
as WWE superstars is was the ringside rundown because they kept us laughing. But I always think it's always going to be me and you. It's not just me, it's me and you.
Well, I appreciate it. That's why we make a good we make a good team.
We do make a good team.
Alrighty, so okay, so the peach and the pit for me. I feel like the peach for me was just continuing to better my mental health and to make like the necessary changes when it comes to relationships. Not so much like even romantic, just more like just relationships in general, where it's like you kind of catch the bad habits or you catch the like anxieties trying to self-destruct things and
Right, yeah.
trying to get better at doing that and also getting better at just accepting the fact that you're not going to win every day. I feel like especially those who suffer with mental health issues, you always are kind of put under that pressure and that microscope of, oh, well, I have to have at least a good day every day. And if not, then it's
Right.
like it's a loss or it's like a step backwards. And I feel like I've gotten better at admitting like there's just days where I'm like, I'm not bad, but I'm also just not like great either. It's just kind of like
Mhm.
I'm here. I'm just here hanging out, doing whatever I can. And I feel like it's just been getting better at doing that of being like, okay, well, I'm not going to win every day. I'm not going to win the battle with mental health every day. And that's okay.
Mhm.
Some days are easier than others, obviously, but kind of goes back to what we talked about before. Therapy does wonders, guys. Please,
Yeah.
please do it. But
Yeah. It also goes back to what I was saying about that book is just like recognizing that night life is not all sunshine and rainbows
no,
and fields of flowers. Like you're gonna have bad days, but one quote that kind of sticks out to me is like you're just having it's a bad moment. It's not a bad life.
exactly.
It's a
Yeah,
bad day, but it's not a bad life.
yeah.
It's just recognizing okay, this moment right now sucks.
Hmm.
So what do we do about it? Do we can sit and wallow. You have the complete right to sit and wallow. And I think everybody once in a while deserves to kind of just sit and kind of stay within the rot of the suckiness, just to
Yes.
experience what it's like,
Yeah. Well, and I
to
think
make us
that
more appreciative.
yeah, and I think that's also another thing too, where I've I've accepted the fact that I am not the kind of person that if I'm going through, let's just say, a depressive episode, I've realized that it's okay to not put a timer on it.
Right.
Where I
Oh,
think growing up, it was always like, okay, well, I've been sad for a couple weeks now. I gotta have to like pull myself out of it. I'm gonna have to like force myself to do something. And it's just like, that's not always the best way to go about it. I think you kind of just have to let it pass naturally. You can't really force
yeah.
yourself out of it because if you do, you're just going to end up feeling worse. It's just
Yeah.
going to be a lot worse. So I feel like it's just picking up on these experiences in life, of course, and just getting better at dealing with the anxieties and the depressive episodes and whatnot. So I feel like that was definitely the peach for me. And obviously having a great support system around you too helps. I have some really good friends and obviously my family that I know I can count on them that even if they don't have to listen to me scream about something, just being around them does wonders for my mental health. So that definitely was a plus for me. The pit, however, kind of goes off the same kind of sentiment was I feel like the biggest pit for me because like you said, we there's definitely moments throughout the year where you're like, okay, this isn't fun at all. I feel like the pit for me was losing a friend that I thought I was going to have for a very long time. Like I had known this person for Not as long as Auden, obviously. I had only known this person for a couple years or so, but it's just we just got each other, and it's so
Mm,
cliched, but it's the truth. It was just like we were pretty much two halves of the same brain. It was just we had the same brain cell, whatever, and obviously never not going into specifics about it, but one thing led to another, and it's one of those sitting in the uncertainty of I don't know if I am gonna like be friends with them again because it's not really so much in my control. And that's the one thing about me is I do like being in control, and when I'm in
yeah.
situations where I can't like dictate the outcome is not when I am at my best. So kind of sitting in that uncertainty of, well, I hope we can at least talk again and hopefully be friends again, but just sitting in the uncertainty of, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, is not fun. And it's getting better to deal with, but I think at the time it was just kind of like, what the fuck is going on? Because this wasn't supposed to happen, but life has a way of life has a way of turning that on its head where you're like, oh, this could never happen because we're like super close. This isn't like you're not going anywhere. And then you lose somebody who's super close to you in that way. Maybe not so much like death, obviously, but just like losing somebody that you thought would be in your life forever. It's a very traumatizing experience. So that was not fun, but we're getting there. We're working on it, obviously, and yeah, hopefully things turn around in that aspect in this year. But if not, I do know I have a good support system that I could rely on one way or another. So
Life, I tell you.
yeah, it's great, but then it's also not so great sometimes. But
Yep,
we
that's
keep
the way it goes.
we keep going on.
That's it. That's what we do. We keep moving forward.
We keep doing it. All right, so this is a less depressing question. So what are our favorite movies and actors in these genres?
Hmm.
So we're gonna get this one out of the way because I have no answer because I just refuse to answer this by default. What is your favorite horror movie and horror movie actor? She said sorry to me, and I'm like, well, that's too bad because I'm not answering it because I don't have one because I do not like horror movies at all.
That's right. You don't. Why? It's so funny because you would seem like a person that would love horror movies.
So my problem is it's a very simple fact as to why I don't like them. It did not help that the very first horror movie I tried to watch when I was like, we'll just say 8 or 9, like I wasn't even 10 yet, let's just put it that way, was The Exorcist.
Ah, yes,
So not a great start for me. So I
yes.
feel like by default, I mean, obviously, I think my like aversion to horror is lessened over time, but I'm still not like, we need to go see a horror movie because I don't want to. Like, it's just not my thing. I don't, especially like the gory, like the Terrifier, I can't do that. I
Oh
can't,
my
like,
God, Terrifier.
can't do it. I just obviously my mom grew up on like 80s slasher films, so she
Yeah,
loves more the gory than the psychological, but
right.
I'm just like I just can't do it. That's the one thing.
Yeah.
One of the very few things I didn't inherit from her was her love of horror movies. I just can't. So I'll give you that question. I'm just gonna sit here and drink my water. So
um, favorite movies and actors in comedy, horror, and action. Well, my
yeah.
favorite comedy movie is Superbad.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. It's a good
I
one.
I can quote super bad like it's going out of style. And favorite comedic actor, probably I'd probably go with Seth Rogen. I don't think I've seen a
Yeah.
bad Seth Rogen movie.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite horror movie is The Exorcist.
It's gonna be
Uh
PTSD all over again. Oh,
yeah,
I hate it.
that movie, that was the first that's probably the only horror movie that at least kept me up for the night.
Yeah,
Um,
many nights for me. I get it.
yeah, it's funny because my mother said that she saw that movie in theaters and
Oof.
she had no idea what the movie was about.
Oh no. Oh
She
no.
just went to the movies with my aunt and their friends, and she said she didn't sleep for like a month straight.
Yeah,
She didn't sleep, and
sounds
it
about
was
right.
like I was like, okay, she's exaggerating, and then I see Linda Blair backwards crab walking like Bray Wyatt down the stairs, and
Ugh.
I'm like,
Ugh.
nope, no, thank you.
Mm.
Um,
Oh, you're
My
freaking me out again. Like, ugh.
my favorite horror actor. That's a good question. I you're not a horror person, so I don't know if you've ever seen like any of the Rob Zombie movies,
No, I'm sure
like
mom maybe has, but
House of a Thousand Corpses, or
I've at
like
least heard of them.
the Devil's Rejects.
Hmm.
There's one guy in there, Bill Moseley,
Okay.
who is just like he plays essentially the same characters in these movies,
Hmm.
and he just knocks it out of the park. He's always so great. So he's like my favorite, but he's always relegated to Rob Zombie horror movies. Nothing
Yeah.
ever outside of that. My favorite action movie is a foreign film by the name of The Raid, where
Hmm.
it's about a SWAT team basically goes into this high rise building that is being controlled by a drug lord who is running drugs out of the high rise building that has like 30 something floors.
Damn.
And a couple of these SWAT team members go in there, and it's just straight like hand to hand combat, like bones breaking,
Oof.
stuff like that. And it's like, I want to say it's from either like Malaysia or Thailand or something like that. A
Hmm.
couple big like of those actors are in it, but it's just like the hand to hand combat in The Raid. I mean, if you see, even as a wrestling fan, you watch it and you're like, holy crap. My favorite action actor, probably Jason Statham, because I was thinking about this earlier. Jason Statham plays the exact same character in every single one of his movies.
Yeah.
Every single one of Jason Statham movies, he's a quiet dude, doesn't like to be bothered, likes to stay to himself, live alone. He takes care of his business,
Hmm.
and then something happens where somebody crosses him, and then he just starts blowing things up.
It's like
So
It's like Robert Patrick. He's always the villain of every movie he's in. So it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So like, yeah, so I would go with Jason Statham as my favorite action actor.
That's a good one. I would agree with that one.
But I love you said The Exorcist though. That was great.
I just like, okay, so my favorite movies and actors in horror are redacted because they don't exist. So sorry, mom, you can deal with that one. I mean, she knew not to ask that for me anyway. She knew I was never gonna have an answer.
she literally says sorry, Shay, in the question.
Yeah, she did. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I feel like that was more for you than me, but that's fine. I'm safe to get out of that answer. But who comedy? I feel like my favorite comedy is probably Pitch Perfect. I know it's a stupid
Mm,
movie to some people, but I find it just it's so stupid that it's funny. Like, and it's also just a movie I grew up on, obviously. So I'm like, I always go back to that one if I need a chuckle. Favorite comedy actor, I'd say probably. I'd say Melissa McCarthy. I always laugh at anything she's in because she's just
yeah,
so
she's hilarious.
so funny. Like, and it's not even like there's no effort behind it. It's just she's just effortlessly funny. So
Yeah.
say there's that. Obviously horror and actors not existent. Action movies Dark Knight. That's not even like a contest. Like that's actually just my favorite movie of all time, period. Um
Nice.
and that's coming from a star. Everyone just assumes that since I love Star Wars so much that one Star Wars movie is my favorite movie of all time. It's probably my number two, but would be Revenge of the Sith. But now action movie is definitely always will be Dark Knight. Oh, favorite action actor. I feel like hmm. I feel like she's been in a couple action movies that I've seen, so I'll just go with her. I'll say Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Okay.
Because I feel like as much as people shit on Birds of Prey, I fucking love that movie. That's probably like my second favorite action movie is Birds of Prey. I enjoyed it. I don't care what people
I thought it
say.
was good.
I did. I thought again, people just complain for the sake of complaining.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was probably one of my favorite parts of that movie. Obviously, besides Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, because come on. But I feel like in general though, my favorite actor, especially growing up, would was honestly Anne Hathaway. She was always like my favorite actress growing up. Probably explains a lot now why she was. That probably should have been one of my like realizations growing up why I liked Anne Hathaway so much. Is probably because I fucking had a crush on her.
Mm.
Um, but I also grew up on like Princess Diaries and stuff. Like it was that kind of era back in the day. So overall, I feel like she probably was my favorite actress, but action actor was definitely Mary Elizabeth Winstead. So those
Nice.
are my picks.
Nice, nice. Those are good picks.
Yours are good too. I didn't think of Jason Statham. That was a good one.
Yeah, I think he's got another movie where it's exactly the same. He's just like
Of
a
course it is.
dude that does his job and somebody does something wrong, so now he's got to stick up for an entire town or something.
Yeah, like that's just he's just like, ah shit, I gotta do this again.
Yeah.
Um all right, so it's a rather easy one. Favorite color.
Favorite color? Oh, it's kind of a tie between black because most of
Mm-hmm.
my wardrobe is black.
Fair, yeah, mine
Uh,
too.
it's the easiest to match with in terms of clothing and everything.
Mm.
But other than black, probably green because I like
Ooh.
money.
Okay, that's fair. We were half the same. My two favorite colors are red and black. I don't know why. I just have
Mm,
I've always I mean again, black is just like you said, you can goes with everything. It's just a sleek color, and then red. I don't know. I've just always liked red for some reason.
nice, nice,
So that was
good
easy enough.
combo.
Yeah, see, I can that could and that's a lot of good like jersey combos too. Is red and black. That could be a fun like combination. But
Yeah, for sure.
alrighty. So then, favorite quote. Phew.
Ooh, I'll let you take this one first.
Oh boy. I feel like I came up with three, and
Mm,
two were from two separate TV shows, and then one was from a song quote or lyrics. So the one that always sticks out to me, and I'm sure this would rile up a lot of Star Wars fans, but I have a life, so I didn't participate in the Discord, was from The Acolyte when it came out last year, which I didn't have a problem with it. People just love to, again, complain about everything, but there was a specific quote from a character in that movie, and it just continues to stick with me to this day. And the quote is, let me bring because I wrote it down just so I didn't forget it. It was, "We're not defined by what we lose; we're defined by what we survive."
ooh,
And that
I
one
like
just
that.
kind of always stuck with me, where it's like, you know what? Yeah, that's very true. That you're more remembered for what you survive and what you get through than what got you in that situation in the first place. So that
I
one
like that.
always stuck with me. The second show quote, which is funny enough, not is from a movie or a show that I haven't seen yet, but it is definitely on my number one priority watch list, which is Arcane.
Mm.
Because of course everybody loves Arcane, and I've just seen enough of it on my Twitter that I'm like, I need to watch this because it seems like it'd be right up my alley. And there's a quote from that one where the one character says to one of the main characters, "You've got a good heart. Don't ever lose it, no matter how the world tries to break you."
Mm.
And I'm
I,
like, yeah,
I like
that's
that.
that's a very me quote if I've ever heard it. So that one hit close to home. And then probably one of my favorite song lyrics, which I guess we can count as a quote because it could be a quote if we want to. Comes from, to no surprise, Halsey, my favorite like artist for the last 5,000 years, it seems like. And it comes from her one song off her not most recent album, but the album before it, from a song called Bells in Santa Fe. And the line is, "All of this is temporary."
Mm.
And I think the way I interpreted it was not so much through the song, but just through the fact of it is true. Everything in life is temporary, and that's good and bad. So, yeah, you might be through some shit right now, but it's eventually going to pass. But also, don't take the good things for granted because it's not going to last either, which was the inspiration for the cherry blossoms I have on my forearm. So that was a big thing for me. So those would be the three quotes that always stick with me uh, for through the years. So
I like those. I like those. Those are good ones.
thank
Those are
you.
good ones. Those are good ones. For me, one quote that I kind of always kind of live by. It's a quote from Winston Churchill, and it's
Mhm.
super simple. If you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah,
Because
very true.
if you're going through something, at least you're going through it. The key word is going through. That
Yeah.
means you don't stop, you keep going forward, and you're going to see the end of it. So
Yeah.
if you're going through hell, just keep going because eventually it has to end.
Yeah.
Sometimes, sometimes it might not end well,
Just keeps
you know?
going. But
Yeah, just keep going because again, it all goes back to that same sentiment of, shit sucks. And it's
yeah.
better to be honest about it and say, shit sucks. What can I do to change it? And remember to only worry about what you can control. It goes back to what you were saying earlier about always wanting to be in control of things.
Yeah.
It's learning that there are some things in life that you cannot control.
Mhm.
So honestly, you just worry about those things the best way you can, handle them, and if there's aspects of it that you can't handle, it's because it's not meant to be in your control.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but again, my favorite quote is, if you're going through hell, keep going. It's from Winston Churchill.
Yeah. That's a really good one too. It honestly goes with the song lyric, all of this is temporary, because
Yep.
it'll fade at some point. It might feel like it never does, but it inevitably does. It's just getting to that point.
Yeah, eventually it's all about getting to that point.
Exactly. See, look at us
Uh,
giving free life advice on the
yeah,
pod.
yeah, not as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, see, we're doing a good job, which brings us to mom's I would say last question, but I feel like it's more just like a sarcastic kind of question, but why we love her the most.
Your mother is a gift. Let me
Yeah.
just tell you. There are moments where like your mother legitimately cracks me up.
It's when she sends you all the Mariah stuff, I know.
No, the Mariah stuff is great. Trust
Yeah.
me. Keep the Mariah content coming.
Oh, I
It's it,
know. I get it
it's
too, don't worry.
it's 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 her love of all things Damian Priest
Yes.
that
Yeah.
makes me worry. Like maybe if like there's ever a time where like Damian Priest ends up back in like Pittsburgh or something,
It's
like
over.
for an event, we might need to hire extra security.
I think that also goes for
Yeah.
Jay White too, unfortunately. She's got more than
Oh
one, so
no.
yeah.
I think, and the thing is, I feel like Jay White, maybe Damian Priest too. They both had like that suave sort of James Dean. Yeah,
Long
yeah,
hair,
and
like yeah.
like your mom would butter them up, but they would butter her up back, and it would just be fun to watch. I think.
You know what's funny about that too is that she said it before. Like all the wrestlers that she likes, like for example, I'll just name off the first three that come to my head: Damian Priest, Jay White, and Drew McIntyre. So you
Oh
have
boy,
tall, tan, some tattoos, not all of them, long hair.
long hair.
Which is, and it sounds so terrible. And she's like, I hate saying it because it sounds bad, but it's the truth. It's like everything that my dad's not, because he doesn't have long hair. He has short hair. He's just like the average everyday kind of guy. So I don't know what it is. I don't know. Like, it's just, it's mom. What can we
Oh
say?
man, she's
Like,
great. She's great.
it,
It kind of reminds me of my mom. My mom used to tell me that the British Bulldog was my stepdad.
that literally sounds like something my mom would say too. Like
Yeah.
literally, like that's gonna be your stepfather one of these days. Just watch it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, mom, sure, whatever. I'm like, you just gotta let
Oh
him
my
do it because
god.
if not, then it's just like you can't
Yeah,
fight it. You just let it happen.
your mom is like I said, she's the gift that keeps on giving. I
Yeah,
just
she is.
some days I'm like, did she just say that? Did that actually come out of her mouth?
Yeah, those are. I do have those days
Uh,
myself where I'm just like, really just said that, and I just kind of
yeah.
you just kind of have to let it go because mom's just mom.
The-
I always say the best way to describe her is that if you don't like her or you have a problem with her, then you're the problem because
yeah.
she can get along with just about anybody, and if she doesn't like you, there's a legitimate reason why. So
Yeah.
you need to keep working.
It's always fun like when you hit me with like an inside joke that I don't get and I go into a freak out mode, I run to her and like, "Do you know what
She
your
had
daughter just
no
did to
help.
me?"
She was
Yeah.
no help to you at all.
She's absolutely, and it's happened on more than one occasion, and every single occasion it's like, well, what do you expect?
Yeah, like I am her
That's who
daughter
she
after
is.
all, so you shouldn't be
She's
surprised.
like, yeah, exactly. I've been hit with the are you surprised multiple times, like
Yeah.
that's who that is, and it's just like, you guys are no help
Well,
whatsoever.
it's just that sense of humor that I feel like, and it's funny because you would think I would have gotten this kind of sense of humor from her, but it's more from my dad where it's like we'll say things
Uh-huh.
And it's that sniper on the roof kind of thing where it's just like,
Yeah.
did you really just fucking say that? It's like out of nowhere, and we just like hit you with something. And it's just like, yeah, we got you. Yeah, we said it.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it so
it's just
much.
it's just that's just my parents for you. You gotta
Uh,
love them. Gotta love them
the
both.
best. The best.
So there, that's why we love mom the most, is because
Yeah,
she
there
gives
you go.
Eric panic attacks every other day. But
She really does give me a bunch. I've had a bunch of panic attacks thanks to your mother.
and
Uh,
me. So you're
yeah,
welcome.
both of you. It's like a tag team. It's like a 2-on-1 handicap match, and I'm just like confused. I wasn't even told I was gonna have a
You're
match.
just dazed and confused.
Yeah, yeah. There it is.
Well,
There it is.
we're just keeping you on your
Uh,
toes.
yeah, for sure.
All right, so that was all of mom's stuff. So I believe we are done.
All right, we got through all the questions. This is probably the
We
longest
did
episode we've had in a long time.
in a hot
But
minute. Yeah,
yeah, I always was worried when we do these, like we're not gonna get a ton of questions, but you guys always come through with the most interesting questions to make this fun. It feels like a fun little conversation, just you and I hanging out. It doesn't
yeah.
even feel like we're doing work or this is a podcast or anything.
Literally not at all. It's just like, oh
For
yeah, we were just doing our jobs when,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, but for those of you that have made it to this point, thank you very, very much. And if it's your first time listening to the podcast equally as much, thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen. Now, if you want to get more episodes, if you want to know where you can find the Ringside Rundown podcast, that's easy. All you got to do is just go to your favorite podcast platform, search the Ringside Rundown. It should be there. It's available on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, Audible, Amazon Music, basically wherever you listen to podcasts, you should be able to find the Ringside Rundown podcast. If not, hit us up on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Ringside Rundown, and we will send you a link to that podcast on your platform of choice on a silver platter. But the caveat is you have to give us back the silver platter because we only have one. It's very expensive, and it belongs to Shay's mom, and she's crazy. She will rip you apart.
I'm not dealing with that. I am not putting
Yeah.
up with it. So just give it back.
Just give it back, but we will get you a link, and if not, it is available on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel has highlights of our live streams and full episodes. So if you can't find it on your platform of choice, go to youtube.com/at ringside run pod, and you should be able to find the podcast available there. Like I had just mentioned, we do live streams for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Dynamite, and Collision on Twitch and YouTube. So if you want to be a part of the fun and all of the jokes and all the laughter, head over to our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ringside rundown, and you can hang out with us and be a part of the craziness that happens every time I'm trying to watch wrestling. And Mike likes to scare me because I have a bunch of jump scare alerts.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Talk about keeping you on your toes.
so yeah, oh my god, at least 5-6 times a stream I'm
Hmm.
yelling at. I think the last stream I gave Mike the finger because
Yeah, that's not
because
right.
he's yeah. So if you want to get on some fun while watching wrestling, come hang out with us. We want new friends, so come over to twitch.tv/ringside rundown, not the ringside rundown.
Yeah.
Twitch.tv/ringside rundown. Come be a part of the fun. Like I said, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Ringside Rundown. Shay, where can they get in touch with you?
You can find me on Twitter at Shailene Hickson 21. Suffering in Pittsburgh sports, I guess, right now because the
Mm,
Steelers are out, the Penguins are losing. You know what? I got my PWHL teams. Toronto
there you
finally
go.
won. Montreal's top in the second in the league right now. So you know what? I'm trying to do my best. I'm trying to do my best here, but
She's trying to
Pittsburgh
maintain her sports sanity.
Pittsburgh sports is really testing it right now though. Like
Um,
uh,
eesh,
I
I
just
don't envy you, kiddo.
it's great. Having a great time over
Well,
here.
you could always be a Giants fan.
I'm good. I think
Wow.
I'll suffer with the Steelers, I guess. It's bad. I mean,
Wow.
we're both suffering in our own way. Like
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. It's pretty bad. I
it's
mean,
something.
at least I'm not a Pirates fan.
Yeah, that's why it's always funny when you have those people where it's like, well, you guys are spoiled because you've had all these Stanley Cups with the Penguins and all the Super Bowl trophies with the Steelers. I'm like, we're still Pirates fans. Like it's not like everything's great. Like we had
Yeah.
it was balanced out and now it's all just shit. So
There you go. There you go.
eh.
Well, again, Every episode is always a joy to do with you. We've been doing this since June of 2021, and we have no intention of stopping. Next week, we'll be back, probably our regularly scheduled programming, answering your questions about WWE and AEW, correct?
Yes. Yes, I
All right.
believe.
So yeah, we have nothing special planned. So make
Think
sure
about
for
it
the
for a
next
minute.
make sure for the next episode before Tuesday you get your questions ready. If you have a wrestling related question, we will answer it on the show here, especially next week when we return to our regularly scheduled format where we answer your questions. So get your questions ready about wrestling and we will answer it on the next episode. Until then, she is Shay Hickson. My name is Erik Vasquez. We're going to get the heck out of here. Thank you so much for listening to the episode, and hopefully you check out the next one. See you later, guys.
See you later, guys.